She opens her eyes before the alarm, already tired, not sleepy. It has nothing to do with laziness. The kind of tiredness sleep never seems to touch. From the outside, nothing is wrong, nothing dramatic, and it's not a crisis either. So, why does she feel tired down to every single cell? Before her eyes are even fully open, her hand reaches for her phone. Messages, calendar, tasks waiting to be completed. And before the day has even begun, her mind is already drowning in questions. What do I need to do today? Who needs me? What did I forget? Anyway, she says, and finally gets out of bed. Her feet touch the floor in those few seconds as she walks toward the shower. That question surfacing in her mind still follows her. Why am I this tired when everything looks fine? Let's first talk about what this feeling is not. Chances are, all of these things have been implied at some point, said straight to your face. No, this is never laziness because you're the person everyone says she'll handle it. No, it's not ingratitude either. Even though you're deeply grateful for what you have, you can also feel that this life is draining your energy. This is not weakness, not an exaggeration, not a sensitive issue. And it has nothing to do with not trying hard enough. You have been trying for so long that trying has become your factory default setting. So, if it's none of those things, what is the explanation? There is something wrong with those explanations everyone so really offers. But you also know that the wrong thing isn't you. That moment when you can finally see things clearly. The system was wrong, not you. And being able to see that changes everything. Here is the raw truth that nobody, not even themselves, has fully told you. This exhaustion didn't descend on you in a single night. It's the work of small, invisible moments built slowly over years. This burnout you feel down to your bones has a logic, a long history, and actually a psychology too. This feeling is the emotional wreckage of being a woman like me, one expected to be enough for everything in exactly this era. No, you're not broken. There is nothing wrong with you. Only the truth that the system running inside you was never designed to run forever. And when you understand what this program has cost you, something inside you loosens all at once. One of those blind knots sitting in the middle of your chest quietly comes undone. Because do you know what the most cruel, most isolating part of this kind of burnout is? It feels as though you're the only person in this entire universe feeling this way. As if everyone else has a secret handbook for living life and somehow you're the only one who missed that book. We were raised at the intersection of two worlds. If you have passed 35, you grew up right in the middle of two completely opposite versions of what a woman should be. You inherited the code of what we might call the old model from the women who came before you. Those women who conveyed the profile of a good woman through their glances, their sighs, their silent sacrifices. From other mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts. But one enormous detail was overlooked. Nobody told you that the old rules had lost their validity. The new expectations of modern world were simply layered silently on top of all the old version. You never actually had a chance to choose between two different versions of womanhood. You were a hybrid version. You were left to carry the expectations of two generations at once. You shouldered the expectations of the selfless, devoted woman your mother's generation demanded, alongside your own generation's expectations of a strong, successful, flawless modern woman, all at the same time. Looking back now, the truth you finally understand is this is not a personal flaw in you. It's an intergenerational inheritance, And the weight of that inheritance is far heavier than we ever imagined. The old model you grew up with had already worked its way into every cell of you before you even had words for it. Be good, be helpful, be accommodating, preserve the peace, even if it's cost you. What you learned over the years was this: your worth was tied to how few problems you caused. Being the child relatives always pointed to, so mature for her age, actually meant this: a child who learned to manage the unfinished emotions of adults around her instead of freely living her own childhood feelings. So much so that you learn to read the mood of a room long before you learn to read your own heart. You learn that the path to love was connected not to your mere existence, but to how useful you could be to others. It turned you into a reliable, warm-hearted, thoughtful woman, the favorite, the one everyone says she'll handle it. But the survival skill you spent 30 years mastering no longer feels like a skill. It's becoming a character that clings to you, to your very identity, and you completely forget that any other alternative ever existed. Then, as millennial women, we came face to face with that much celebrated modern world, and what it whispered to you was that all of this still was not enough. You were supposed to be so strong and unshakable that you never need anyone. Wait, hold on, is that it? Of course not. On top of that, you were expected to have healed your own wounds yourself, always stayed balanced, have a perfect relationship, or calmly explain why you don't. And all the while, that relentless mind behind all this noise keeps issuing comments. Be visible, be flawless, stay calm. Let me be honest with you. You didn't actually trade the heavy expectations of the old world for the bright freedom the new world promised. The moment you embraced that so-called freedom, you didn't set down the old model's expectations that had already seeped into your cells. You were simply handed even more responsibility. Your own healing became part of that burden too. The old model expected you to serve everyone. The glittering new model expected you to turn yourself into a flawless project, and you said yes to both because saying no was never in your code. The things that exhaust you this much are invisible from the outside. That's exactly why nobody thinks about how tired you actually are. Because there is a to-do list in your mind that never ends, yet is never seen. Who do you need to get back today? What does that thing you said, I'll handle it, to and then couldn't reach? You're the first one to notice the doctor's appointment you have been putting off, the vulnerability in a loved one's voice, the tension building in the room. This is what we call invisible cognitive labor, the mental load constantly spent behind the scenes, and unfortunately, it has no on-off switch. It never turns off. Even in moments of pure enjoyment, your mind is running in the background like a crisis center. You're not just managing your own mind, you're managing the emotions of everyone around you too. This is called emotional labor, and you have become a true master of it. The careful way you choose your words even when delivering bad news is a mark of real expertise. Even when you're exhausted, that no problem smile keeps the atmosphere at home balance, because if you fall, everyone falls. You make yourself smaller so that others can feel more visible, more capable, more significant. You do this so professionally that nobody even notices, not even you. This is what truly hollows you out: relational exhaustion, the silent erosion that comes from constantly taking on the role of emotional caretaker in every relationship. But as you spend your strength for others, It drains from the battery inside you. And somehow, nobody ever reaches out a hand to recharge that battery because nobody ever imagines that you might need it. Have you ever rested for an entire weekend and still woken up feeling like nothing inside you recovered? You finally switched to rest mode. The weekend arrived, but something still feels off. The next morning, you wake up with that same similar exhaustion. Again, you can make sense of it. Here is exactly why. Resting and truly recovering are never the same thing. Real recovery is your brain becoming convinced that stopping is safe for you. And in you, the link between those two has long since broken. Even if you lie still for hours, the alarm inside never quiets. Sleep heals the body beautifully, but it never brings down the circuit breaker of a mind that has spent years believing that being on alert is the price of being okay. This is why the exhaustion outlaws the sleep. Not because you are bad at resting or doing it wrong, but because you are trying to recover inside a body that doesn't yet believe rest is a safe and rightful thing. Yes, your body stills, but that feeling of safety never comes. The exhaustion waits right there on your nightstand, waiting only for your eyes to open. The name for this unsafeness is survival mode. I'm not talking about some dramatic fight or flight state. This is probably the kind you have mistaken for your personality. The chronic, quiet humming from the inside. Even when there is nothing to do, you can't fully relax because your nervous system won't allow it. Lower your guard and you might face serious consequences. Your brain learned this exactly, and so you feel compelled to control everything at once. You try to manage tomorrow without ever fully living today. You're constantly bracing your body against imaginary blows that never actually land. The tragic part is, it's not those crises you're waiting for that cost you. It's that constant state of standing at attention, dug into a trench inside your own body and mind. You stood ready for so long, you never noticed how much it was stealing from you. No one looking from the outside can see or understand this battle. When people look at you, they see a strong woman who can handle everything because you built that image yourself. Asking for help feels far more dangerous than quietly managing on your own. Yes, that capable woman is as real as it gets, and so is that bottomless emptiness growing quietly inside her. The more capable you are, the less the people around you think to wonder whether you're okay. Because what they see is you're fine. You play this role so convincingly that in a sense you've become invisible, and now you are living a kind of exhaustion that has no witnesses, no language, no name. You know, those two words that cost you more than almost anything else in this life. I'm fine. You say it quickly before anyone has a chance to ask twice. How many times have you said I'm fine simply because explaining the truth would take too much energy? Those two words are on autopilot now because it's easier this way. You say what's expected even when you don't believe it. Your identity is built on being the woman without problems. In truth, it's a very elegant disguise for silently erasing yourself, for making your own needs disappear. While others need you so easily, being help yourself is somehow nearly impossible. While people lean on you, it never occurs to them to ask whether you have anything to hold on to yourself. This is emotional masking, censoring your real, exhausted yourself to fit whatever the room needs. And the cruel part is, this tactic always works. Right up until the moment you realize you have told everyone around you, yourself included, that you have no needs. By the end of the day, when you finally need help, There isn't a single person who speaks your language. You told the whole world that you're fine on your own, and then you were left with no choice but to keep being fine. After 35, something shifts. It has nothing to do with aging. It's a quiet reckoning, a moment of finally sitting with yourself and facing what's there. And then, suddenly, a question that should have come much sooner surfaces without warning. Do I actually want this? I don't mean everything, but certain parts of your life, that definition of success you have been fighting toward, the roles you said yes to without ever knowing you had the right to say no. Those exhausting relationships that take far more from you than they ever give back. You begin to notice that quite inexplicable sense of peace somewhere inside you feels far sweeter than the feeling of being approved by others. A quiet, solitary evening at home restores you far more than those high-performance social events where you wear your mask. What you want is a real version of yourself. This is the return of a self that's been buried somewhere for years. Exhaustion, strangely, becomes the thing that transforms you, the thing that wakes you up. A new path is forming, but it's not quite in your hands yet. Let's reframe what you call failure properly this time. The exhaustion inside you is not proof that you are weak or wrong. You didn't reach this point of burnout because you did too little. It may have looked effortless from the outside, but you burned out because you tried too hard for too many people. You simply spent yourself emotionally down to the very last drop. When you retreat into your shell, you're not becoming a cold person. You are only trying to protect the small amount of peace you have left. You're not overly sensitive either. Your nervous system has been overstimulated by thousands of details that no one else even sees. That's all. You have grown tired of disappearing into the old version of yourself that everyone else finds so easy to accept. This exhaustion is not your problem. This exhaustion is life's most honest, most truthful signal, showing you that a limit has been quietly crossed. You can stop. You don't have to be completely depleted to deserve rest. You don't have to fall apart to earn a peaceful evening. You don't have to keep performing the everything's fine version of yourself for people who never stop to see what it costs you. You always have permission to be someone who has needs, not just someone who runs toward everyone else's. You have permission to be less available, less impressive, less flawless. You have full permission to disappoint someone in order to protect your own boundaries. That good, sweet girl who grew up alongside you was told that her needs were negotiable. And the modern woman was told to bandage her own wounds without needing anyone. Both are enormous lies. You can now gently begin to lift some of the excess weight from your shoulders, not because you have earned it, but because you owe it to yourself not to be unfair to yourself any longer. And recognizing this is not weakness. This is the first real, honest rest you have given yourself after years of finally facing who you truly are. If you felt truly seen just now, that was never a coincidence. And please believe me, you are never alone. Far more women than you think are asking the same question in silence. So I want to ask one small thing of you. In the comments below, write the number from 1 to 10. How tired are you from trying to hold everything together? You don't have to explain, just leave the number. Sometimes a single number is enough to make the way visible. If you want more conversations like this, stay with Quietly Her. Here, you don't have to keep up with anything. This is a quiet space set aside for you to feel understood. Rest is your right too. You were never meant to carry this much, this quietly, for this long.